Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. Looking for a movie that celebrates the gift of life? Get ready for Lifemark, the new movie from the Kendrick brothers and Kirk Cameron, opening in theaters everywhere September 9th. In Lifemark, David's uncomfortable world is turned upside down when his birth mother unexpectedly reaches out to him, longing to meet the 18-year-old son she's only held once. With the encouragement of his adopted parents, David embarks on a life-altering journey of discovery that leads to a staggering truth from his past. Inspired by a true story, Lifemark is a powerful reminder that one decision, one choice, can impact so much more than one life. Lifemark is pro-family, pro-love, pro-forgiveness, pro-reconciliation, and pro-new beginnings. So if you are too, make your plans to see Lifemark. See Lifemark in theaters nationwide beginning September 9th. So to learn more about Lifemark and get your tickets today at lifemarkmovie.com. That's lifemarkmovie.com.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and we are continuing our questioning of the World Economic Forum and the motivations and outcome preferences of the global elites, including Klaus Schwab and some of the other young world leaders like Justin Trudeau, who ultimately want to control humanity. And so this great docuseries, The Great Reset, now has part one of the technological reset and what the World Economic Forum's goals are for technology, not just to enhance our human experience, but to actually control it. Watch this introduction.
The organization pushes fear and tragedies to further its own agenda.
We know now that the next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner.
This is an organization that profits from famine and disease, known as the World Economic Forum. The book, The Great Reset, outlines 5 pillars of civilization that need to be reimagined for the desired world in the eyes of this one man, Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. Henry Kissinger was also Klaus Schwab's mentor, where a CIA-funded course run by Henry at Harvard was where the birth of the World Economic Forum came from.
Yes, there was one seminar of Henry Kissinger.
It's embedded in every aspect of our lives. The World Economic Forum hosts annual meetings since 1971. The richest and most influential names and faces gather in Davos, Switzerland. What lies in the future of our world? I hope to answer these questions for you during this series and give you the facts and knowledge in order to resist this creeping, radical globalism.
So joining me now is the producer, writer, and director of the Great Reset Docuseries, Kian Simone from Rebel News. And Kian, thank you so much for joining me. And this next episode about the technological reset, I watched this and it is incredibly disturbing, fascinating, and just packed full of really important information. And so, kind of just to give an overview of what this specifically focuses on with the technological reset and the agenda of the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on. You're right, it is a very scary installment, but out of all the resets, we wanted to lead with this one because it affects all of the others. It needs to be the first one that the World Economic Forum has to impose. Um, so I guess we should probably start with what the World Economic Forum is. Just quick synopsis: it's a conglomerate of radical left ideologists who every year host a annual meeting for the world's elite to basically discuss the trajectory of the world going forward in their own vision. So in 2020, they decided that using COVID as an excuse, they'll enact what they call a Great Reset, which is exactly what it sounds like. Um, Completely resetting society in the eyes of, in the image of what they believe that they know best for us.
Yeah, and looking at Klaus Schwab, who of course is the chairman of the World Economic Forum, I was actually surprised that this particular installment focused so heavily on Elon Musk, who of course to a lot of conservatives, not just here in America, but and you're in Canada, I believe, right now, right? So a lot of Americans think of Elon Musk as someone who is a self proclaimed moderate now. He's been red pilled, so to speak. And yet, this documentary goes through a lot of his technological advancements and just questions some of the influence from his grandfather and also some of the motivations that he may have for utilizing technology in a way that doesn't just enhance our daily lives, but actually wants to transform the definition of humanity. So, what is your position, or what does this documentary show more about Elon Musk?
Yeah, we you explained it perfectly. We wanted to use him as example because if we just came out straight saying Klaus Schwab wants to turn everybody into robots, we'd look like crazy conspiracy theorists, right? But if we put it into perspective of Elon Musk being the richest man in the world and having all of these ideas and being able to, how would I say it? He can shape society or shape norms as he does just by tweeting, right? If we can accept that someone like Elon Musk has that sort of influence when maybe he doesn't say it, that he wants to do something crazy like his grandfather did, um, then we have to accept that people who have more money combined, have more influence combined, and who say they want to do it, that they can actually do it, and they are doing it. So I guess it was kind of just the way that we can get the quote unquote normies to accept the idea that this is all completely possible. Um, and back to his grandfather, for those who don't know, he was a man who lived in Saskatchewan, Canada, who was a part of a group called Technocracy Incorporated, that basically wanted to have an entire world rid of politicians and replace them with scientists and engineers who um, would rule the world based on technology being the replacement of thought and have one world united under a world named Technate. Like that's something that you'd see out of a movie. That's something that you would see in a scary George Orwell book, you know. This is something that this is someone who had influence over Elon Musk, who just happens to be someone who can actually do something like that. And did we say once that he was going to? No, right? It's the perfect example of what exactly is going on, and that's why we focused on him so much to get those on the fence to come. on our
Right. And
side of
this
the
is
fence.
exactly why, associations and groups are so powerful, because combined efforts and coalitions, of course, are much more influential and have more resources and powers and ability than, just one individual. Even if you're someone like Elon Musk, then partnering with other people, of course, then can spark these types of changes and these types of movements. And then when you get the World Economic Forum that is openly talking about enhancing the human experience in the human body and redefining humanity based on these technological advances that, as you describe in the documentary, aren't necessarily just going to be used in the future for medical purposes and to enhance people suffering with medical ailments, but actually as a form of control. Then you start seeing how this is really dangerous and what the World Economic Forum is trying to do in terms of technology. And one of the things that, as a lawyer, I found really fascinating that you really focused on and touched on was that this isn't, we always talk about the freedom to speak and the freedom of speech, but this is really more about the freedom to believe. And if we don't have the freedom to believe, then that is foundational to everything else. And that's where I think a lot of conservatives are really missing the bigger picture. So, where is the World Economic Forum in terms of where they're actually headed with this technology? Because one of the people in the documentary said they're looking as early as 2030 in terms of some of these technological implants.
Well, that's the magical date, right? 2030. Yeah, I think that they've already advanced most of the aspects of what the technology reset entails of being digital surveillance, of using the algorithm to control your thought, to control how you believe in what you see and make you act, right? I don't think that they're using technology to make us complacent just yet. I think they're making us react to things actually. So quite the opposite of keeping us dumb. They want to keep us angry. Um, I think that's the number one aspect that that they've already gone through with it, and it's the most scary, right? Like you look at places like China, that is literally what the Great Reset, technological reset, wants to do. Now, will they go as far as using the government to, crush down on citizens? I don't think so, but I do think that they're going to go little ways and little ways to just be able to monitor us in ways that we never even could think of. Um, and like you brought up with the chipping, like they're not coming out saying, we want to chip you to track you, like how the left would use it towards the right of like, oh, they want to chip us with, they already, sorry, they want to track you. They already know where we are
Mm-hmm.
with our phones, right? They don't want to chip you to track you. They want to chip you to learn you. They want to learn how humans react so that they, like Yuval Noah Harari said it in a documentary. He said it. We put the clip in. They want to
Mm-hmm.
hack us. Like they want to hack how we think and, like you said, how we believe. If you have something in your skin that, and this sounds so far-fetched, but it's not. They can literally turn things off inside of you, like how Bill Gates wants to chip you to mess up your reproductive. That they can mess things up inside of you, and we're so being so conditioned right now to accept that.
Right, and there was another clip by a gentleman. I'm forgetting exactly who it was in the documentary, who said, we are now through this type of technology reaching divine like status, and we are trying to amplify humans to then be like gods, where we all then have all of this superhuman technology within us, which ultimately. Sounds good to those people who might buy into that, but really it is a method of trying to learn humanity in a way that is really dangerous and ultimately can be subversive. And for the people who are saying that, this is just a bunch of atheists, these are, people who don't have a religion, to say that we are reaching divine like status and becoming like gods, that's the definition of a religion, is trying to have this sort of transcendent nature.
Yeah, so it is just like a cult. It's cult-like behavior. It's cult-like thinking. Yuval Noah Harari is the one who said that. He's actually a historian, um, and he claims that he's a historian that learns from the future. of and he's an agenda contributor to the World Economic Forum, right? So what he believes is that, like you said, that we would reach divination and become like gods. He talks about the cloud a lot, of not God's clouds, but his cloud, the IBM cloud, the the cloud of technology. And one of his main theses is actually that, for thousands of years humans can only be led by lies. And he says fake news has been around forever. Just look at the Bible. That's what he says. And it's interesting to me because the World Economic Forum is the one that influences thought, basically. They influence our government, they penetrate the cabinets, they influence the media, and shape the way that the world thinks in a way. And they're the ones leading the lie, knowing that humans need to be led by lies, quote unquote. And then they talk about being like
Mhm.
God. Like, it all comes kind of full circle to, like you said, it's like a religion of itself. And it just kind of plays into the whole how they want to control us and how they want to make the rules. They probably want their own commandments, right? They want their own of book that you
Mhm.
read, that has all of their ideology in it. It is freaky. It's scary the way that they speak, and it's not like they're doing it behind closed doors. It's all readily available on
Yeah,
YouTube.
it's very clearly an open agenda, and in Klaus Schwab's book, even about the Great Reset, and they lay out this is our clear goal and path, and they talk about tracking carbon footprints and using technology to say, okay, how much are you using, and of course that can be weaponized and then to shut down bank accounts and say, sorry, this purchase will have too much of a carbon footprint, and you've allotted use your allotted credits for the month. I mean, we can see easily where that's going. But there are several clips as well in the docuseries from even one of the prime ministers, who she was saying that this is what you believe on the media. It's not truth unless it comes from us, and that is the definition of tyranny. And of saying we are taking away your ability to analyze and critique and determine for yourself what you think about the reality to which every human being is presented. And in fact, that is one of the only, if not the only, right that our U.S. Supreme Court back in the late 1800s specifically said is absolute, is the right to believe. You don't have the absolute right to act on beliefs. And the example, of course, that they gave was human sacrifice. If that was part of a religious belief, you're free to believe that, but you're not free to act on it. And so then, and that was in the context of religious freedom, but in the context of speech, in the context of whether it's religious freedom or it's in the context of any other freedom, the freedom to believe has to be and must be absolute. And the World Economic Forum is specifically and squarely against that. And this type of technology, I mean, is it possible, and are they attempting to not only influence what we believe but actually control our thoughts, which sounds crazy, but it sounded like to me that's where this is going.
Well, it's exactly that, and it doesn't even have to get into the microchip and the hacking humans, sort of say. The World Economic Forum's main guy, the main young global leader, Justin Trudeau, my prime minister, um, they're putting in laws. It's through legislature right now, the technology that we already have. Bill C-11 is basically taking the CRTC, which is like it's our main conglomerate of overseeing anything that goes online, from TikTok to YouTube to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, all the way down to Netflix, so that it's already in play of that I can't watch the same movies as you because you're in America, I'm in Canada. It'll say this isn't available in your country. He's putting it through that they basically have full control over everything, not just Netflix, or not just, hey, we don't want to see this Russian video, come to Canada. It's actually now that we don't like the content being made in Canada anymore, and you can't see it anymore. So this is technology, our phones, just social media itself
Mhm.
is part of the technological reset of making sure that you don't see this interview,
Mhm.
my docuseries. It's so easy for them to it's just censorship, really. Like it's already been happening.
Right. And I just actually spoke with James Lindsay earlier last week, who is now permanently banned on Twitter for calling out cult grooming, which is, simply the leftist agenda that is wanting to program and influence children with this over sexualization and to blur the identity between men and women, and to completely make them dependent on not only authority structures and regimes to say a woman is whatever we say that it is. And if you're not an expert, you can't reject an idea or believe otherwise. But then also tell them how they feel and what their feelings mean, and ultimately lead them to actions that are based on their narrative. And because he's calling them out so very clearly and is right over the target with some very precise and great messaging, that's now been completely censored on Twitter as a platform, and I'm sure will start on other social media. So it is about censorship, and you're right, and I think that that's a really important point for people to recognize, that this isn't just about actual physical control like through chipping. This is about influence to control what people believe. And if you have this Stalinist like regime of this authority structure that says you can't believe except what we tell you, that is a method of controlling what people believe. And then they are attempting to say you can't, you'll be completely censored from viewing news or information other than the propaganda that we provide. And I mean, we've seen this in world history before. It's just they're using now more advanced technology to get there.
It's exactly right. And that's how, with the example of how the technological reset has to be in play first for other resets to come through. So what you're speaking about right there is their exact image of a societal reset. It's the, I like to use this analogy, even though I don't know how much it makes sense yet, but it's like the torch for freedom, back in the 1900s when ladies weren't allowed to smoke. And then a man, the father of PR, um, basically hired a bunch of women to go smoke in a plaza and then get the media to go on there because he believed that if you take a social taboo, um, and you attach a product to people's desires and emotional desires for and want for freedom, then you can make them act irrationally.
Hmm.
So look at the product that's been given to us for the last 2 years to the entire world. It's not just a cigarette. It's a medical thing. I won't get too deep into it just in case we want to clip it, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. Um, that made everybody act irrationally, and that's what caused that split. So with that societal reset, with the technological reset backing the one side not being able to speak, then you see what the Great Reset actually entails. And take the product, for example, you have the World Economic Forum who founded Gavi, who people think Bill Gates founded Gavi. It's the Vaccine Alliance group that gives all the vaccines to Africa. And I think they distributed like 3.2 billion of them. So that's all the vaccines. That's a World Economic Forum, quote unquote, child, as Klaus Schwab says. So it's them doing it. It's not the big bad guy Bill Gates only, right? It's that entire conglomerate of people who are using that torch for freedom
Mm-hmm.
um, analogy to reset the world.
Yeah, and to normalize certain things. And so as you're seeing, all of these types of overt sexual activity being normalized, and even where they're calling this now minor attracted persons, and trying to normalize, love is love. And that, of course, started with the gay rights movement, and then how the left has completely taken that and weaponized it and has transformed it into something much more sinister and even more disgusting than I think the original gay rights movement could have possibly contemplated. I think they would have been, the original advocates for that would have been very happy to just leave it with the 2015 Supreme Court case here in the U.S. and just say, okay, now we feel like we have equality, and we're done. We'll pack up and go home. We've accomplished what we set out to do. But now they've weaponized this, and they are trying to normalize it into society. And then, so when you have this type of extreme machine like the World Economic Forum that does have these types of vast resources, and when we think about everyone who's involved in the World Economic Forum, and this is global, this isn't just people here in the United States, and then we look at people like George Soros, like Elon Musk, that have so much money that that are putting it into these types of activities, is there hope then for people who are on the conservative right, as we would describe that here in the US, or just generally on the side of freedom and liberty and opposed to this type of ideology? I often ask the question, where is our George Soros? Where are the people who will fund and get together and aggregate in an association to fight against that? Do we have any leaders that are up and coming, or any investors or people who are willing to look at this and say we have to fight back, other than just the common kind of you and me who aren't Elon Musk?
Well, it's funny you say that, and I like to always use this example of our premier in Alberta, which is a governor in, let's say, governor of Michigan, our premier of Alberta, um, in 2020, December 2020, he had a press release and he held up the book, COVID-19, The Great Reset. And he said, I will not be reading this. Klaus Schwab sent this to everybody. This is the radical left ideology. This goes against everything that we stand for here in Alberta, which is the conservative capital of Canada. Um, I'd say over 95% of people here are conservatives. It's great. So he held that up, and then 2 months go by, and he not sort of, he really does switch. Like it was like a turncoat. Like he started arresting pastors. He was an advocate for religious freedom for the last 20 years, and he arrested 3 pastors.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was in jail for 52 days, and one was in solitary confinement for 49. So does it matter if we have these leaders, if they're going to speak out about this, and then I don't know what happened to him. I can make a bunch of assumptions, but why would he switch right after saying that?
Right.
So I think that, to your point, I don't think we need a George Soros. I don't think we need a political leader on our side, or investors, because in the book, and this is kind of the spoiling the end of the documentary, and it's so important to bring up because Klaus Schwab brings up quantum politics, and quantum politics basically means that um, there's 250 million people on Twitter, there's 400 million people on Facebook, 350 on Instagram. That's not a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's we're in an echo chamber. Maybe we're fighting with each other. Who cares? That's not a lot of people. There's 8 billion people in the world. We're missing out on so many people's input. Everybody has dreams and aspirations. Everybody has a line in the sand. So if you're going for the blue collar workers, we've already seen that with the technological reset. Now they're going for the white collar workers in the offices, making them deemed worthless.
Mm-hmm.
The later it goes, you're going to go for the scarlet collar workers who get naked on a camera for a living. They have a line in the sand too,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have an opinion. They have a they have their dreams. They have their aspirations. Maybe they in 20 years they want to take all that cam money and buy a house in on a farm and raise a family, right? We don't know what people want. So the further that these people go, all it takes is these grassroots movements to start up slowly and slowly and slowly and say no for all of these different collared workers and different class of people. They know that it's backfiring. They write about it in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you're seeing such a push right now of all of these resets coming into fruition as we speak. Like they talk about 2030 a lot, but they need that stuff done now
Mm-hmm.
for that to come. And I maybe I look at it too optimistic. Maybe um, I'm white pilled as the kids say. But that's I think what we need is that we need to understand that there's more people than we've ever reached out to and can even imagine to reach out to
Mm-hmm.
that that have a say in this kind of stuff that we're forgetting.
Yeah, and that is really hopeful, and I think precisely correct, because even if you look at, here in America, everyone turns to, the influence of Fox News is the number one cable network. And I'm like, yeah, and on any given night, Tucker Carlson reaches 2 million people. That's not even the size of a large major city in America, and so how many more people are there that have an opinion? They have a stake in our constitutional republic. They have a stake in the outcome of global politics, and they're not being influenced by the number one cable news network. And so they're receiving their information or their ideology, their understanding of truth from somewhere. And so who are the people that are influencing them? And that's why it's so important that everyone in their sphere of influence is resisting all of these terrible policies and the Great Reset continue to resist. Like, so many people rose up, and it wasn't, an association of people who said, we don't want to be compelled to take the vaccine, for example, or we don't want to be compelled, like the Canadian truckers who, said, I mean, that was a great movement that wasn't necessarily organized by, one association funded by a conservative George Soros. It was people who were saying, no, I can think for myself. And so the more that we continue to do that, then the less power and the less outcome driven ability these major associations will have, because ultimately, at the end of the day, hopefully they can't buy as much influence as they think they can. And that's why documentaries like yours, Kian, are so important, so that people can watch this, they can think for themselves, they can be aware of what's going on, and then make logical and truth-based decisions for themselves and their families, which is the definition of freedom and what our founders said of pursuing happiness, the ability to self-determine what you want to do in the world and how you want to raise your family, how you want to spend your life, what you believe about God, what you believe about eternity. All of these things are life's most important questions, and we can never yield our ability to think for ourselves and to decide what it is that we believe, because even God himself does not compel us to believe in him. We have that choice. And so we can't allow some other human being to compel us what to believe either.
We have to remember that the trucker protest in Canada started by CB radio.
Hmm.
It was because that was the only way that they could speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why before that the government shut down all the restaurants and the bars,
Mm-hmm.
is because that's where people start to talk. So we have to remember that now that things are slowly opening, or are open in America and slowly opening back here in Canada, that we still have work to do of speaking to people who, like I said before, aren't on Twitter, or like you said, don't watch Fox News, who still have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important that you don't get discouraged by the one person or the 10 people who tell you to shut up, because if you can get two people to listen to you, then you've just got 20 people that they'll talk to, 10 each,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And it's a pay it forward movement. And I mean, I
Yep.
really appreciate so much your time here on the documentary that you are putting out as information into the world to hopefully encourage people to think through these things, understand where the risks are and what the true motivations are of the World Economic Forum and people who don't believe in liberty and freedom and the elites. So where can people find this? And I encourage everyone. So the part one of the technological reset is out. Part two is coming. So start with the definition of the very beginning episode, if you haven't yet, the definition of the World Economic Forum. Then go to the technological reset, and watch this in order. I've watched the first two episodes now. They're fantastic. So where can people find this, and how can they also follow you in your great work?
Yeah, everything is at exposethereset.com. I'm most vocal on Twitter, Kian Simone 44. That's where you can follow everything. And just a shameless plug here, where we have another documentary coming out on Friday of what the Great Reset actually looks like in action. We sent a team over to the Netherlands during the farmer protest, and you can watch that at farmerdocumentary.com. I think that that's also very important to learn what it actually looks like, and see how it affects real people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the emphasis on farmers right now, I think everyone's very concerned about widespread famines and supply chain and all of those issues. So that's an incredible documentary as well. But Kian Simone, thank you so much for your time. Keep up the good work, and looking forward to having you on again as more and more of these episodes of your docuseries come out. So great work.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And when and we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. MyPillow is having their biggest sheet sale of the year. You all have helped build MyPillow into the amazing company that it is today. Now, Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO, wants to give back exclusively to you, his listeners. The Percale bed sheet set is available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are all on sale. So, for example, the queen size is regularly priced at $89.98, but is now only $39.98 with our listener promo code Jenna, Jenna. So order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The Percale bed sheets are breathable and have a cool and crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so don't miss out on this incredible offer. There's a limited supply, so be sure to order now. You can call 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna, or go to mypillow.com/Jenna. You can click on the radio listeners square and use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna. Thank you so much to all of Mike Lindell's listeners and listeners of this podcast for making sure to support MyPillow and using our exclusive listener promo code Jenna. That's Jenna.